Hello, my audience, and welcome back to From the Depths. So, a couple of days ago, I was thinking about how I could kill things faster. I eventually came to the conclusion that my guns, although they could be much better, they weren't the ultimate root of my problems. I eventually came to the conclusion that a lot of my problems were because my guns were missing. So, eventually, I came into the detection tab and looked at these buoys. And basically, what radar buoys do and sonar buoys do is that they kind of serve as detection on a missile. And I don't mean detection for the missile. So what this missile will do is that when it's fired, it will kind of act as a radar for the vehicle. I'll spawn a sentinel in just so you can get a better idea of it. So over there's a sentinel. As you can see, the cram cannon right now is not much aware to where it really is. It just tried to shoot the sentinel, but it missed. However, if I were to shoot my buoy, you're now going to see that the next shot will be much more accurate. Like so. That time, it still missed, but it missed by a lot less. So that means the cram cannon is now aware to the whereabouts of the sentinel. And it just fired again. Again, it was a little bit short on the shot. But that's technically what radar buoys do. If I take a look over here, you can see that on the Targets tab it says currently tracking one target, tracking Sentinel with a detection chance of 90%. So the radar buoy is literally acting as detection. And now that it's gone, you can see that we just missed. So I eventually thought of more ways I could use this, and I came to this thing. So I wanted to make a new type of missile system, and I came to this. So this is what I'd call a detection relay guidance missile. Basically what it does is that you have the radar buoy detect. It relays the information to the mainframe. The mainframe relays its guidance information to the missile, and then it guides it. Detection relay guidance. So if I were to spawn a vehicle, Sentinel, 1.5 kilometers away, the missile fires, and you can see it's kind of shaking a little bit, which is normal. But as you can see, it is tracking. And it just hit right there. So that means that this type of detection works. It can be used to guide a missile. And the benefit with this type of detection is that you can use the front slot to get a shaped charge head instead of a seeker, because you no longer need an active radar seeker or an infrared seeker to find the enemy, because you have the radar buoy to see for you. Another benefit of this is that because the type of detection from the radar buoy is different, this missile will never get tricked by flares or decoys, which is a pretty good thing because that leaves the enemy with only two options: to shoot down the missile or to avoid it, which for tanks, it's very often not easy to avoid a missile, and they're often not really big enough to justify having a whole laser anti-munition system to them. So that really leaves them with very little options on how to avoid these missiles. And eventually I settled on a design, so let me load it in real quick. This one. So this is kind of like the completed version once I got through most of the rough parts. It's bigger, has 4 missiles instead of just 1. It has some better detection. And another thing that it does fix is that my earlier versions of the missile, like the one I showed you, which was a test version, very often a missile would hit the ground, and when it hit the ground it would no longer be able to turn, and so it would miss. So what this vehicle does is, when I'll spawn in an enemy some 3,000 meters away, you'll notice that the actual turret gets angled up a bit, so the missiles go high. And we're going to see them hopefully hit, all 4 of them. So here's missile number 1. Let's see if it hits. I think it will. Yep, that was actually a pretty good hit too. It hit the engine. And did it AI dead? No, it didn't. Although, still a hit to the engine is really important. You kind of need that to move. So I think all 4 of them hit there. I kind of lost track when the engine got exploded. You know, a little bit glorious. Lost my focus. However, there are more missiles coming. So let's see what these ones do. Number 1, pretty close to the ground. Still though, hits. Number 2, hits. Number 3, hits. Number 4, also hits. Unfortunately, they didn't really seem to hit anything important, so not much damage was done there. But you get the general point. You know, it's basically just a missile system that works a little bit different and has some advantages over a more conventional missile system, I'd say. And that's another thing is that these missiles, they're not more inaccurate. Because the radar buoy does have inaccuracies at longer distances. The closer your radar buoy gets to the target, basically the closer your missile gets to hitting the tank that you're trying to kill, the more accurate the radar buoy will become because, well, it's closer. So that means that these missiles have the same accuracy as a normal guided missile would, but they also come with some advantages. The only disadvantage I see with this type of missile is that you need 2 slots, like 2 missile slots instead of just 1. You know, you need the radar buoy to see the missile, and then you need the remote guidance to actually guide the missile. Although I think the trade-off is very much worth it, because, well, you know, an extra missile slot isn't really much for getting some pretty big bonuses, such as being able to use the shaped charge head at the front, and also being immune to flares and decoys. Anyways, it's time to get onto the actual building of the new vehicle. Alright, so first I'm going to start off with the weapon. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to lay the weapon down so I have more of an idea of what the vehicle is going to look like. So I'm going to get my local weapon controller. I'm going to need that wireless receiver. Turn off mirror mode. Okay, turn off mirror mode. Put the wireless receiver, and then get the failsafe. There we go. Now from there, I can get the 1-axis 3-meter turret, and I can build on it. So since this is going to be a vehicle that actually fights, I'm going to need it to be decently armored. So I think I'm going to kind of do something like this, just to give it some protection and to make it look kind of okay, I guess. Kind of okay is how I describe it. And now that I've done that, I can turn off mirror mode again. And over here on the right side, this is where I'm going to stick the spin block. So let me get to the sub-objects and get the spin block. Let me orientate it correctly, like so. And then now I'm going to build on it. I'm going to need some missiles, missile connectors to start off. I'm going to need a missile controller over here at the back. There we go. And then I'm going to need a staggered fire add-on. I'll do 2.5 seconds, I'd say. Now I can get the actual missile gantries, or missile launchers to be more precise actually. Now I'm putting the missile gantries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. Just gotta copy that for the top now. And now that I'm here, I can design the missile. So I'm gonna see if I saved it. I did not. So I'm going to do that very quickly so I can just copy paste the missile. Be right back. Okay, I've got the proper missiles in place now. And something I'm going to do is I'm going to add a decoration. Going to get a metal block, move it up by 1, and I have to make it a little bit bigger just so that it doesn't look like it's clipping. So 1.02. There we go. Now they'll never know. Unless if they hit that spot, in which case the whole missile system will just fall. But, you know, it's unlikely that they hit that spot. It's unlikely. Another thing that's unlikely to happen is for the enemy to hit down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the ammo barrels down here. You know, not very safe, but, you know, we're working on some limited space. I want this thing to be small. That means we're also going to have to make the fuel engine really small. Something like this. Let's get a couple of cylinders. And from these cylinders, some carburetors. And now we can stick some exhaust. Like so. You see, very safe. This will never blow up. And it is going to provide more than enough power. Yep, we should be fine on the power. Gotta get some fuel for it though. There we go. And the next part that I would put would be the AI, but unfortunately the AI is, well, more demanding. So I am going to need to make a proper compartment for the AI instead of just making it a part of the floor. Or hull, maybe? I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to have the front be up here. So I'm going to try to make the AI somewhat well protected. No promises, though. So I'm going to put the mainframe here. Unfortunately, the AI is going to be the furthermost upper part of the vehicle. That's just the way it's gone down. But I'm going to make the frontal armor as tough as I can, just to make it survive a little bit more often. Gonna get some wireless transmitters here. And I'm going to need the AI card slots, so this thing knows where to aim. So the aim point selection and target prioritization. Got that. Now, I just need to get some general processing cards. This thing's going to need to process a lot of info. Okay, there we go. I just got to get a couple of radar buoys now. There we go. Just enough. So now what we're going to do, well, what I'm going to do, is that I'm just going to surround the AI in heavy armor. You are now safe. Of course, this isn't going to be all. I am going to need to actually stick things that will protect it from heat, such as an outer layer to make shells prematurely detonate. And that's why I'm kind of bulking it up a little bit. Gotta do that for the other side. There we go. And this looks a bit funky, I'll admit. But it's fine. It's fine. So towards the front, I kind of want to have a shape like this. Yeah. I don't know why. I think it would give the vehicle a little bit of style. Not that it has much to begin with. Okay, time to get some more beams. Like so. And there we go. The AI should be somewhat decently well protected enough. I mean, I think it'll do just fine. Although I would like to add some more heavy armor. I don't think that's going to be quite necessary. And now we just need to kind of protect the top of the vehicle. You know, having an open top to the AI isn't the best idea, so I'm going to protect that. Going to use some transition blocks. You know what, yeah, I think that looks okay. And then I can get some 3 meters. And then some 4 meters. Yes. Perfect. Perfect. I think. Sure. Sure. It's got a very big head. A very strong, sturdy head. And you see, this part right here has sloped armor, which means it has a somewhat better chance of surviving being hit. I want to see if there's a different block I can use here. Yes, there is. Never mind. That does not work. What about this block? No, that's worse. Yeah, I guess we'll just use that. Works. Maybe I can use a different block here. 3 or 4. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. Okay. I kind of want to round off the part back here. So I will. Something I should do is actually probably get rid of these 2-meter beams so I can put larger 3-meter beams because they're more durable. And 4-meter beams because, again, they're more durable. So hopefully they'll survive being hit by things more often so that the actual heavy armor poles can protect against the heat and the hesh and some other stuff. However, I don't think that's going to be everything for the head. I'm also going to need to stick some protective logs. I'm going to put these sideways. Okay, didn't mean to put it there. There we go. Now it is properly protected. Like, that is some top-tier protection. I do not see how you can break that. I mean, you very easily could with just a kinetic penetrator. But, you know, that's a lot of armor, right? Anyways, we should actually probably get back to the missile. So what I want to do is I kind of want to round off a little bit of the turret here. Kind of like this. Yeah, so that when the turret turns, it's not just like hanging out of the edge of the vehicle. And for these ammo barrels and fuel engines, so I mean, the fuel engine probably isn't the thing I need to protect the most. You know, if the fuel engine gets hit, I can still shoot. If the ammo storage gets hit, sure, I can move, but I certainly won't be winning the battle anytime soon. So I'm going to try and prioritize the ammo storage. I'm actually going to relocate this more forwards and put a 3-meter beam here. I don't want to have the explosive barrels right next to the turret, so it can just destroy the whole thing and cost me some 12,000 resources. That sounds like a bad idea. Okay, so I'm gonna armor this up a little bit now. Like so. It's still vulnerable from the underside, but not so much from the top anymore. I'm going to need to put some log armor on that too. You know, it's weird. It doesn't look very good. Well, it doesn't look terrible either. I mean, it's different from just solid gray, which is what a lot of my vehicles are. Alright, so after a while I've made some changes. First of all, I added some detection on top, a couple more logs. I also changed the shape of this a little bit. I added a little bit of an armor block on the back. One of the bigger ones is that I tried to protect the local weapon controller here. I mean, I can still see it, but I don't exactly know how the block mechanics work, so maybe it's safe, possibly, maybe. I fully encased the ammo. I also switched the engine around and gave it a little bit more cooling, because if it cools better, that's better efficiency. Why not? So right now, I got a test. Does it work? Will it shoot? Does it do the shoot? It's a very important question. So I'm going to spawn a bison. Gonna turn it off. Okay, so something right now is wrong. Okay, let's try that again. So let's spawn the bison again. And there we go. Now I gotta solve the problem with this weapon over here. Put that there. And over here, put that. Orientate that correctly. There we go. Nice. So the bison, I turned it off, right? So it's not going to chase me. Good. And yeah, seems good to me. It seems to be fully functioning for the most part. However, I do want to add a little bit of armor here. So I'm going to get some heavy armor. Add just a little bit. Only 2 layers of it, to be exact. And then I'm going to get some very steep slope. So hopefully if something hits this, our missiles will be just fine. But hopefully this thing shouldn't be getting hit at all. It's going to be pretty far away from the front lines, I'd assume. You know, it has a decent range after all. And it's also a missile, so I don't need to worry about it missing all the time. So this is pretty much the vehicle. Other than making a couple decorations in the future, this is it. Now I just need to give the thing the AI, so it knows what to do. I mean, it's doing what it's meant to do right now, but with a little bit more elegance and a whole lot more movement, I'd say. Okay, so here's the completed version. It's, well, more well-built. It has this rubber bit at the back because basically what this vehicle will do is it'll just back away from the enemies. So it's very likely that it'll eventually find something that'll hit itself upon. It has a missile decoy, which is very useful. Protects it from missiles, and it has pretty much the same AI as the last tank destroyer. Just back up. You're going to see it in action right now. As you can see, it is very good at going backwards. Very good. Very fast. Very efficient at going backwards. Which is advantageous, actually, because you are putting more distance in between yourself and the enemy, so they're less likely to hit. And another thing you're doing is that you are also distancing yourself from them. So if an enemy uses melee, you have more time to fire off more shots before it reaches you. Or it might not even reach you, which is a very big advantage. Considering this thing won't be... Considering this thing isn't capable of hitting things that are too close. Because the missiles are angled up, if a vehicle gets too close, it just can't hit it. Which is why it likes to stay far away. So the bison over there's taking some hits. 79% health. Let's go check up on it again. Okay, so the front turret has been destroyed. It doesn't really seem to know where my vehicle is, which is good. It is about to run over Rambot, but I think he's fine. Yep, the Bison missed by a little bit. Rambot lives. And some more missiles hitting. 75% health. Still at 75. Let's go check up on the missile truck. Yep, firing again. But as you can see, if the missile truck doesn't kill the Bison very soon, it is going to hit the back of that kind of like mountain, I'd say. Maybe like a swamp, I'd say. You know, it's a bit rough, but there we go. The Bison has been destroyed, which is nice. So this thing is capable of actually, you know, fighting, which is good. I will add more decorations to this. I do kind of want to have like the cargo container look on the missiles. But for right now, you know, what works, works. I'd like to keep it that way. And anyways, I do have something else I want to try out first. Something about space and guns. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video, and the reason I say hope is because there is always hope, there's just no chance. Goodbye.